Let's just be quiet 1 second, please.
We just rapping, dog. Everything real vanilla. Everything moving real vanilla right now. I'm just have a long I rap. Dog. We gon' call it. Look at me, dog. Look. Niggas know I ain't the one to sleep on. I'm under pressure, gotta sleep with the heat. An extra clip beside the dresser like I'm Pop. Paranoid niggas puffin' pot. Puffin' out your chest, what? Stop. We ain't stupid, we ain't stun you and nothing you doing. I'm the intruder, the pursuer, the persuader.
I guess it didn't work. You still seem scared.
Guys, there's something really important I have to share. I am a certified Legend of Korra hater. I do not like this show that much. However, what this show lacks in terms of likable main characters, a solid replacement team avatar, slow power crawl instead of just giving Korra everything, side characters that aren't worthless, subplots to explore later, an overarching conflict to solve, or any number of things, what this show doesn't lack is interesting antagonists. In fact, my favorite part of the show is the antagonists, and in particular, Zaheer. Zaheer and the Red Lotus were, in my opinion, what made Season 3 of the show good. After hating Korra for most of Season 2, I was really checked out on the main cast, but the introduction of Zaheer and the Red Lotus really made Season 3 compelling. Obviously I'm a hater, so I'm rooting for Zaheer the whole time, but I felt like they were the perfect enemies for Korra's team to fight. Korra's team is frankly not very experienced or coordinated unless the villain is staying faithful in a relationship.
What's wrong with you, bro? What the heck? You tripping, bro? You tripping!
Whereas Zaheer and the Red Lotus are lifetime fighters who are extremely skilled benders and overall combatants. Their presence brought up the stakes for the season because we could see how serious they were. But there is one thing about Zaheer that kinda grinds my gears a little, and it's that nobody really understands him. They either relegate him to just a schizo who wants to kill the Avatar or wants to do world domination or some shit like that. But the reality is, Zaheer is arguably one of the most nuanced characters in the whole show. And that's what we're gonna go over today.
They're hoping to get them some merit. They never keep up and I swear. Consider it done when I swear. I mean, they run for the carrots. My dog loading up in the bags. They never keep up and I swear. Consider it done.
A lot of people like to point at this moment as a reason for why Zaheer is an evil villain. But to be honest, Zaheer may do questionable things, but ultimately there is reasoning behind the actions he takes. And to just label him as a villain with no recognition of those reasons is a disservice to him and his character. Unfortunately, near the end of the season, the writers just turned him into the schizophrenic that wanted to kill the Avatar.
I am crazy. But you know what else? I don't give a fuck.
But that wasn't the character that we were shown for 90% of Season 3. It was very much a late stage rewrite on what was initially a very nuanced character. Zaheer's motivations were very simple. He wanted to remove the institutions and people in place that kept people from living freely. He says as much when he says that,
"Together, we will forge a world without kings and queens, without borders or nations, where a man's only allegiance is to himself and those he loves. We will return to the true balance of natural order."
And throughout Season 3, we see the realities of what rulers are. The president of Republic City only cares about his poll numbers and looking good on camera. Kinda like some people we know. And the Earth Queen only cares about being the leader, not actually being a leader. It's not a surprise that Zaheer's ideology of creating a free world hinges on destroying the old world, when these guys are such assholes. Like, I can't really sit up here and just be like, no, Zaheer, don't kill the Earth Queen, she can change. Like, no, she's evil, put her in the dirt. But what Zaheer did of just assassinating her on impulse, with no plan for the future of the Earth Kingdom, is what gave way to a more difficult despot in Kuvira. It's not so much that Zaheer's ideology is incorrect in what he's trying to achieve, it's that he doesn't think these things through. Yeah, he got rid of a tyrannical ruler, but he had nobody to replace her, he had no systems in place, he just iced her and dipped. And like, what did he think was gonna happen? Everyone was just gonna be like, guys, let's organize and keep the peace. No, they're gonna hit a lick. And I can't blame him either, I'm not even in the lower ring, but I will be the first person in that throne room. I will snatch the chain off her corpse. Had Zaheer had a plan, instead of just sending her to meet Ozai, I don't think anyone would have questioned it, because, you know, she was a bitch. But he didn't have a plan. and he ended up causing more harm than good in the long run. But even through all of that, I still wouldn't call Zaheer a villain. I think that based on his stated goals, it would be incorrect to call Zaheer a villain. But I definitely wouldn't call him a hero.
Mad liberator, death operator, rock the data.
I don't want anybody to get it twisted. Zaheer is not a good person. Anybody who needs to jump to avoid getting his ass beat is, in my opinion, a bitch. And the kidnapping kids thing isn't a good look either. But even the worst of people can advocate for good things. And with that, it's important to recognize two things. One, it doesn't make the person in question any less of a piece of shit. And two, it for damn sure doesn't make the good thing they're advocating for somehow bad. It's important to recognize these two things because Zaheer is definitely not a hero. There's just too much bad shit he's done. It's one thing being radical, and it's another thing being crazy. Let's just go over some quick differences. Hey everybody, welcome back to my favorite game show, Radical or Wrong. I'm your host, Cornelius Biggington, and today we're gonna figure out, is he radical or is he wrong? Organizing a large protest that chokes centers of the economy. Radical. Kidnapping a child. Advocating for the removal of despotic monarchies in favor of a society in which all people are equal. Radical. Jumping a 50-year-old man with your friends. This is what I'm talking about. For every good thing that Zaheer does or advocates for, there's another thing he's doing that is just... Huh? What do you mean he beat up your aunt? The thing is though, is that it's this weird dichotomy that makes Zaheer such a compelling character. For a lot of antagonists, it's okay to use the word villain. If I say Joker is a villain, I doubt anybody is gonna write a 30-minute video essay about how Joker is misunderstood. He blew up a hospital. Now, I'm not saying that Zaheer hasn't done shit on that level or worse. What I'm saying is that there is a real difference between doing horrible shit for nothing and doing horrible shit for a good reason. In the show, Korra's villains tend to embody some kind of overarching trait. For Armand, it was fairness. For Unalaq, it was spirituality. For Zaheer, it was anarchy. And for Qloudy, it was order. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of actions committed by Zaheer and his contemporaries weren't villainous. They definitely were. But at the end of the day, the objective of their characters weren't to be the villains. They were meant to be people that embodied their individual traits and embodied a problem that society was facing. Armand was meant to represent the lack of fairness in society between benders and non-benders. Unalaq represented the spirituality that was missing from the world and from Korra. Zaheer represented anarchy in a system where people were being oppressed by the state and their rulers, and Qloudy represented the order that people needed after the Earth Kingdom fell apart. But the thing is, all of these antagonists have the same thing in common, and it's that ultimately none of them thought things through. The Equalist movement fell apart after Armand got exposed for being a bloodbender. Unalaq just ate Vaatu, I guess? I don't really like that season. Zaheer, even though the Earth Queen was a giant bitch, had no plan after killing her, thus plunging the Earth Kingdom into chaos and giving way to Qloudy, who was a fascist. Zaheer is not a hero. He's also not a villain. He's done too much bad to be good, but his reasoning itself is not villainous. His purpose was to force Korra to confront her own ideology of punching will make everything okay, and force her to understand what it really means to be the avatar for all people.
I let the blood dry a little bit, then keep it pushing, been the coldest since a little jit. No patience in us, gotta get it for the pig.
Zaheer is probably one of the most interesting characters in Legend of Korra. He highlighted a lot of the issues that were rampant in the world of Legend of Korra. He and his crew managed to bring the world to a standstill and hold their ground against any benders. And his most important achievement of all is that he is shorter than his girlfriend. Zaheer proved to the world that 5'6" is basically 5'7", and 5'7" is pretty much near 5'8", and at that point you might as well say he's 5'9". And if you're gonna say that, there's no harm in saying you're 5'10". So what I'm really trying to say is that I'm 6'1". Zaheer demonstrated a philosophy regarding the world that was objectively more just when put up against the rulers that we see in Season 3. In his own way, he tried to fix a world that he saw was beyond fixing. And yet, no matter how admirable this goal was, he absolutely was not a hero. Zaheer beat and nearly killed anyone who stood in his way, regardless of his intentions. He was fundamentally someone who wanted to do good, but nearly every action he took was not. So no, Zaheer is not a villain, but he's definitely not a hero. And to call him either of those things, I feel is a misunderstanding of who he is and what his character was for. And yet people still refer to him by these words, which is exactly why I say,
I ain't gon' feed no lies to your ear, shouty. Percocets on the table, it's a pill party. Fucking grab the burner, shouty, you a real hottie. These niggas nip tuck, they ain't got no real bodies. Don't leave your bitch around me. The way she playing with the ball, shouty MVP. I'm serving on the block, I ain't make nothing to eat. All these honeys, I love when that money count beat. Hop inside the car, come slide with a nigga. For that talking, you about it, come in line with a nigga. You were talking like a gangster, put that fire on a nigga. I wouldn't do that, press him out, we put that iron on a nigga.